When we pick up a new headset like the Meta Quest 3, it's so incredibly easy to get completely obsessed with the hardware. We're scrutinizing the pancake lenses, checking out the processing chips, weighing the head straps, but the honest truth is that hardware, it's a fixed asset. Once it's manufactured and sitting in your hands, it is not going to change. What does change, though, and what literally dictates whether your headset gathers dust on a shelf or becomes your absolute favorite daily tool, is the software. The operating system is this living, breathing entity that shapes every single virtual reality session you have. So, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the invisible backbone of the entire Meta Quest ecosystem, Horizon OS 2026.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think back to just a year ago, when the Quest 3 was running on those version 70-something updates. Let's be real, it was a bit messy. You had these clunky menus, isolated applications that basically forced you to completely close out of one thing just to open another, and this super confusing double-digit firmware naming convention. But compare that to our reality today with Horizon OS version 2.1. It is a total game changer. We are now working in a sleek, spatial multitasking environment. It's incredibly clean, it's built on a stable architecture, and it just fundamentally changes how you interact with digital space. So here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1. What exactly is Horizon OS? 2. The biggest updates we've seen. 3. The frustration list, because we have to talk about the bugs. 4. The Horizon OS roadmap, and 5, we'll wrap up with the final OS scorecard. Let's get right into it. Part 1. What is Horizon OS? The foundational layer.
So what exactly is this thing? Well, if we want to get technical for a second, Meta Horizon OS is a stabilized, consumer-grade spatial computing platform based on Android. It's specifically designed to bridge your physical environment with digital applications. But translating that jargon into plain English, it's essentially the ultimate translation layer. It's the software that takes the actual physical room you're sitting in right now, maps it out in real time, and allows your digital screens, your games, and your workspaces to seamlessly interact with your actual walls, your desk, and your physical hands.
And this brilliantly illustrates why Meta couldn't just take standard Android, slap it on a headset, and call it a day. They absolutely had to build a custom layer. Think about standard Android. Its core function is built entirely for 2D mobile apps and touch interfaces on a flat little screen. But the leap in complexity to Horizon OS, it's astronomical. It has to constantly calculate 3D spatial environments and juggle multi-panel windows floating in midair all around you. Standard Android uses traditional display rendering, right? But Horizon OS has to run complex real-time algorithms like frame sync and system positional time warp just to keep the digital world from making you dizzy when you turn your head quickly. It requires an entirely custom environment built around pass-through cameras and spatial physics. Moving right along to part 2, the biggest updates. We're talking about recent massive upgrades. Over the past few months, the product lifecycle has been moving at absolute breakneck speed. Back in November 2025, version 83 brought us some really deep architectural changes, like temporal dimming and system positional time warp. Then, skipping ahead to January 2026, version 85 finally cleared out the clutter by sunsetting the old Horizon feed. And then came February 2026, which brought us the huge milestone we'd all been waiting for, version 2.1, marking the official launch of the Horizon OS 2 era. Those confusing double-digit updates of the past? Yeah, they are officially dead and gone. Let's just metaphorically check off some of the biggest wins standalone users have gotten recently. First up, the permanent Navigator UI. This gives us a beautifully decluttered dashboard, meaning your apps are finally front and center without any of those forced social feeds pushing them out of the way. Next, and this sounds so incredibly simple that it's actually kind of funny how long it took, you can finally see your battery and Wi-Fi status right next to the clock. Hallelujah. Then we have spatial snapping. This is where you can grab a digital browser window, drag it over to a real physical wall in your room, and it just magnetically snaps flush against it. It literally uses your real-world architecture for digital organization. And finally, system-wide Dolby Atmos, giving this incredibly accurate, immersive spatial audio across all applications.
I actually want to pause on one deeply technical but massively important upgrade happening under the hood, frame sync. So the crucial point here is it stops your games from dropping frames and making you feel nauseous. Seriously, that's the bottom line. Frame sync replaces the older phase sync algorithm. You see, in VR, dropping a frame doesn't just mean a tiny visual stutter on a TV screen across the room. It means your brain perceives the whole world skipping a beat. It completely shatters your immersion and causes real physical discomfort. This new frame timing algorithm delivers highly stable pacing, which means you can stay in VR way longer and be way more comfortable doing it.
All right, part 3, the frustration list, because we have to talk about the growing pains and the bugs.
It is so important to look at the community's actual real-world experience with these changes, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Take this direct quote from Reddit user J9Fire. Ever since the latest update, I have had all kinds of wonky bugs. I'm constantly getting out-of-memory messages. Get your act together, Meta. I think this clearly hits the nail on the head regarding the very real friction users experience when the operating system's overhead just outpaces the hardware's optimization.
Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown of missing features and regressions is what's actually driving people crazy. Right at the very top of the list is the dreaded feature lottery. Because Meta rolls out updates gradually, account by account, your headset might update to version 2.1, but the servers just haven't unlocked the new UI for you yet. It's almost comical. You get the shiny new update number, but absolutely zero of the fun features that are supposed to go with it. Then you have genuine day-to-day bugs. Things like clunky VR multitasking that just leads to endless crashing when you're in pass-through mode, or the browser completely losing its mind and opening multiple windows at once when you literally only clicked once. And then there's this very specific regression in 2.1 that really hit a lot of users hard. Reddit user DruganX writes, Horizon OS 2.1 no longer can track in the dark with the Quest 3s. Wish I could just not get the update, but it forces it. You can literally hear the exasperation there, right? This perfectly illustrates the double-edged sword of having a mandatory living software layer. An update that was meant to improve the headset inadvertently ended up breaking low-light tracking, leaving users totally stuck and wishing they could just roll back to a previous version that actually worked for their specific room.
Okay, let's look ahead. Part 4, the Horizon OS roadmap and our forecasted future.
Guys, this is perhaps the most massive platform bifurcation we have seen yet. Meta is officially separating the Quest VR hardware platform from their own first-party social application, Horizon Worlds. In fact, Horizon Worlds is explicitly dropping VR support to become an almost exclusively mobile and flat-screen experience. And by doing this, Meta is finally cleaning up the VR operating system. They're untangling it, allowing the headset to function as a pure, utility-driven spatial computing platform instead of constantly dragging along the heavy, clunky overhead of a forced social gateway. This renewed focus on pure utility is bringing a wave of incredible upcoming developer tools that could radically change the value proposition of this headset versus newer competitors. We're seeing things like the Immersive Web SDK, which provides GPU-accelerated toolkits to make browser-based VR run buttery smooth. There's also the Open Metaverse Browser Initiative, or OMBI, which aims to connect spatial services through open standards, entirely bypassing platform gatekeepers. And incredibly, the Horizon OS MCP, which brings artificial intelligence directly into the development pipeline. Let's move to and see how this builds a better future for the actual apps you want to play. The Horizon OS MCP is designed to radically accelerate how fast developers can build great stuff. Step 1, developers can now bring Horizon-specific context directly into their AI workflows. Step 2, the AI can instantly generate code and actually execute performance optimizations. It essentially finds the exact bottlenecks that are causing your game to lag, and it just fixes them. Step 3, using the Immersive Debugger, developers will be able to edit and modify their applications in real time, right inside the headset, using just their voice. No way, right? It means we're going to get more apps running smoother, arriving way faster.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, the final OS scorecard. Let's weigh the pros and the cons.
So, here is the honest scorecard for Horizon OS in 2026. On the wins side of the column, the software truly is getting much, much better. We have massive user experience leaps with the clean Navigator UI. We've got highly advanced rendering tech like FrameSync, making sure our games run perfectly smoothly. And we finally have genuinely useful, clean, spatial multitasking capabilities that actually turn the headset into a viable productivity tool. But we have to look at the drawback side too. The operating system overhead is still really high, which sometimes leads to those brutal memory crashes. The fragmented feature lottery rollouts create a super confusing, staggered user experience for everyone, and those forced updates still occasionally introduce deeply frustrating regressions in basic, fundamental functionality like the low-light tracking issues.
Like I said at the very beginning of this explainer, the hardware you bought is completely fixed. But this software layer, this invisible backbone, is constantly shifting and completely redefining what your headset is actually capable of doing from one month to the next. So I want to leave you with a provocative thought to ponder as we wrap up. What single Horizon OS feature would make the absolute biggest difference to your daily VR use? Think about how you actually use spatial computing and ask yourself what piece of the puzzle is still missing for you. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.
and keep exploring.